Let me thank members of the press for coming to our fourth introductory session. Today I'm introducing three new candidates, Mr. Ng Eng Hen, Mr. Edwin Tong, and Mr. Vikram Nair. Before I do so, allow me to make some comments. We've had elections for self-government since 1959, just over half a century. And every general election decides Singapore's future and well-being. But of course today we have more to protect. We certainly have more people, about double the number of people in independence. About 4 million residents today, 1.9 million then. We've got more assets, more wealth to protect. We're now a $300 billion annual economy. 90% of households own homes. Per capita GDP is a rough measure of wealth, about 60,000. It was about 1,006 at independence. And also from our residents, from our Singapore citizens, higher expectations and aspirations. There was a question asked in previous sessions, what are the issues in this general election? And I think in every general election, wherever it's held, whether it's Singapore or elsewhere, the elections are pretty much the same. Singaporeans want better housing, transportation, healthcare, schools, safety and security, economic progress, better jobs, better wages. And only strong and decisive government can deliver this, because if you look at all the items that I mentioned, they are long-term problems which require long-term solutions and implementation. And if we want strong and decisive government, we have to bring in new and able candidates who can continue strong, capable government. And that link is indivisible. You have to keep bringing in every crop capable leaders who can renew, refresh the current leadership. So I wanted to talk a little bit about extensive search for candidates that we've started. We started sometime 6 months after the last elections in May 2006, for those who can remember. And we cast our nets very wide. Almost all sectors of society, we looked at it. Branch activists, starting from our own people, volunteer groups, I'm talking about VWOs, professionals, academics, civil service, business. And we asked people that we knew, as well as leaders from various communities. We basically asked them, who do you know personally that you think have the right qualities to lead Singapore and that you would trust your future with? And we got names from these individuals. So over the last 4 odd years, we've held nearly 200 tea sessions. We met the candidates in groups and all one-on-one, both here and overseas, because some of the names given to us were overseas, so we made trips. Sometimes it was on our visits, and we found time to visit these people. They weren't always told why we were talking to them, but we met them and sort of asked how they were doing, just to keep in touch. We had tea with over 260 individuals. Slightly more than half attended 2 or more sessions. And these sessions, the probing questions were put. We shortlisted some for intense 8-hour psychological profiling, double-checked with their referees, their reports. And we assessed candidates over a period of time. For some, indeed, years. So some tea participants or candidates whom we saw through change in jobs. Some got married, pregnant, delivered. So we saw them in various forms, antepartum, postpartum. And we basically, over the years, went through and assessed them in various states and various stages. We put them on the ground to get feedback from activists and members of parliament. How did they do in your branch? What is the feedback from your activists? Can they connect? And the MPs themselves, can they be MPs? As we asked the MPs whom they were attached to, can they be MPs? At the end, we carefully selected over 20 candidates. So if you do the math, the rough maths, some candidates have complained that they had to drink quite a lot of tea, but let me give some consolation that every cup of tea candidates drank, we drank 10 more to select the best brew. Thousands of man-hours spent on this task by senior members of party because, at least for the candidates that we're introducing, they would have met the CEC and senior members of the party not less than 3 times in groups, large groups. And the questions may be asked, why these exhaustive efforts? Why such stringent standards? What are we looking for? And the answer is quite simple. We wanted to offer to Singaporeans the best possible team to preserve what we have and to take us forward into the future. There were 4 essential qualities that we were looking for someone to be a good MP and a good leader. First, we were looking for activists. In other words, people who were committed to serve, grounded in reality. They were able to show ability to put into plans, into action to serve the people. And I've just summed that up by saying that activists is my definition. We wanted to see whether they had a heart for Singapore. Did they believe that Singapore could improve? Could they connect with hopes and difficulties of Singaporeans? In fact, we were not looking for people who agreed with us. Never mind that they disagreed with policies or they didn't agree with us, but they must have a heart for Singapore, that they could believe that there were things that they could be improved. Then we were also looking for people, and the first 2 are assessments, character assessment, proven ability. The other 2 qualities were really judgments. Did we believe that they had the guts for Singapore? Could they commit and stay the course? Because politics is a marathon. You want to have a policy, you want to make change, it may take many years. Do you have the ability to see it through? Would they wilt under pressure, succumb to populist sentiment, chop and change when they know, even though they're doing the right thing? Could they think long term? So this required a judgment. Some based on potential because they were very young, and we are bringing some very young candidates. We had to make that assessment. Finally, could we trust them? Because as MPs or office holders, they would have positions of power and influence. They could be handling projects worth billions, and their decisions will affect livelihoods. Could we be sure that they would always act and decide in the interest of Singaporeans and never for personal gain? So what we have built is precious. We are a jewel of Asia, but it can only be maintained and improved with a first-rate government and a united people. Singaporeans have depended on the PAP to produce the quality of leadership since 1965, our independence. And we are doing so again to produce the kind of leaders that we will need to bring us forward.